So uncivilized.
Greetings and welcome to the 1/6 Scale Man proudly presents another episode of Uncivilized Scoundrels. I am your host, Leo Rockwell, for the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you're always up to date as to what we got going on today. And if you haven't seen the thumbnail, or if you have seen the thumbnail, then I know why you're here, because we will be talking about and revisiting Rogue One. Why we're doing this is because, again, if you haven't finished season, if you haven't watched season 2 of Andor, and if that hasn't given you an excuse to revisit, like it has for us, then it's not my problem. That's your problem. But definitely, man, I'm excited about this. This is something that we wanted to talk about. Vinny promised me after the show, once we get done talking about this, I can actually get the key to the room. So I was like, yo, let me just get through this show. And on top of that, we have a special guest in here who just, she just finessed the shit out of us on this channel today, man. She just showed us a life-size K2S. Yo,
shit.
I'm like,
Kendra dropped the nuclear bomb. Boom.
Yo, you ain't seen my face when she showed me. I was like,
man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, a nuclear.
A nuke strike.
A nuke. Definitely, she dropped a nuke, man. But definitely, before we actually head on in here, let me just bring everybody in here with us this evening. Starting off with the man himself, Vincent Dunnar. What's going on with you, brother?
You were on the verge of greatness. You were this close. What's up, man? Just a long day. Happy to be done and refocusing on Star Wars and mind off of work and thinking about how much I enjoyed Andor rolling into Rogue One as a ethereal experience. So it's been amazing. I'm anxious to dive into it. It's been a pleasure to have, good time to be a Star Wars geek, man. I mean, it gets so much vitriol, so much hate, but that could stay over there. Over here, we're having a good time with it. So I'm looking forward to talking to Rogue One, and been working on a bunch of art coming up for this con. I haven't Three Rivers Con in Pittsburgh and next weekend after this weekend, and so just did a K2SO piece for it, and I'm hype. I'm excited for the discussion, and I've definitely had some thoughts going into this film that stuff I took much differently than the first time I seen it, and I'm sure everyone on the panel has similar experiences, so I can't wait to hear everyone's revisited thoughts on Rogue One. So let's get it,
bro. It's crazy though, right? It's crazy how visually, or just not just the aesthetics, but the story beats change for you a bit. You know what I mean? Unintentionally, they change. You know what I mean? It just happens.
It's one of those things where, you went into the film the first time just, assuming a lot. You filled in gaps with your own imagination because it's a prequel and the weight of what's coming. But I never really felt like much of a connection with Cassian. It was just a linchpin to set up the events of New Hope for me. That was shot incredibly well, written well, great cinematography, but knowing so much more about these people, it definitely was like another example of how just when you think that there is an idea or an execution of something that's great, there's these creators that come in and show you how much more weight and love that could be poured into this IP by fleshing it out. And we've seen that with like Filoni's Clone Wars enriching the prequels, and now we see Andor enriching not just Rogue One but A New Hope.
Yeah, man, definitely, bro. Well said, man. It's It's definitely a different experience, and I'm loving it, man. Also, because I'm gonna leave this special guest for last, because I'm going to literally make her show everybody in case we got none other than CC back in the building. After she took a trip to Alderaan, or what was left of it last week. What's going on with you? How you doing today?
Good. Happy Thursday. It's sort of a Friday. I'm working tomorrow, but different job. So it's like kind of like Vinny. I'm just trying to like push work stuff out of the way, but really excited to talk about Rogue One, because I think like I didn't immediately jump into Rogue One, like rewatching it after Andor, because I didn't want to cry like a bitch. It gave it a week or two. And so I only recently just watched it again, and they were correct as far as how it changes your perspective and how you see a lot of the characters after Andor in the best ways possible, I feel like. So yeah, love it even more than I did before.
Yeah, definitely. As always, like it's a and it also made me, as much as I wanted it made me understand why there was no cameo by certain characters. It made me understand why they didn't do it and why the focus wasn't there, because it would have actually cheapened the experience. Right. And I'm glad that he didn't. I'm glad, Gilroy did exactly what he needed to do. But yeah, well said, definitely. As always, thank you for being here. Next up, we got in the building.
Princess R.
Princess bringing hope to the galaxy.
I'm so glad to be here. As you guys know, I love being with you all and talking about Star Wars. And this is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I just can't get enough of it. I want more of everything. I also want more of Andor. I just love it. We are so lucky right now, guys, to have all this great content. And there's so much to talk about going on in Star Wars.
Oh man, so glad to have you here and dressed for the occasion as always. Literally always, and that's what we love. So glad to see you here. Next up, it wouldn't be a show without my therapist. I pay him well, and he always comes through. Even though sometimes it's reverse therapy when he tries to, swindle me into doing shit. But other than that, man, what's going on with you, bro? What's going on, X?
Hello there. I love the fact that the show stuck the landing, and Rogue One is still a fantastic film.
Yes.
It's a better film now, because let's face it, failure would find you explaining why to a far less patient.
Oh,
Thankfully, it was a wild success. What we got with Andor season 1, Andor season 2, and then the fact that it literally went right into Rogue One, and the fact that Rogue One literally goes right into A New Hope. It's like this seamless experience, but it's got all this richness to it. And the fact that, who would have thought that 9 years later we'd be saying, hey, the prequel to Rogue One, which is the prequel to A New Hope, all of it's fantastic, and it all adds so much more to the Star Wars, universe, as a whole, to the original trilogy. So I love it, and Andor season 2, because that is just such great storytelling. Rewatching that was an absolute dream. And of course, Rogue One, going immediately into Rogue One, I had the best time. So you're right, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. The fact that we got this and it was a success, that it was a hit, and that it stuck the landing, I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, it's I mean, we and they told us, they said watch it after, and it played directly after, like it should have, and went right into it. It was like, okay, the experience. Now I see. And the thing is, it's so emotional to watch it from a totally, because even the music changed. The music choice at the end of the last episode that blends well into the intro of Rogue One, and it's like, yo, if I didn't hate Krennic before, I didn't necessarily hate him, but now
you see what he's capable of. Now you see what he's done.
This motherfucker, No wonder he almost got choked out a couple times. And I'm like, you know what? It made sense because what this show did so well, and we'll get into it, is the allowing us, and I always said this, occupation and dictatorship. We got a chance to basically see that, through the lens of occupation with the empire. And the simple fact that these are just jobs. They're doing a job, unfortunately. Some of them who enjoyed it way too much. Some of them who were just there like, look, I got family, or I got to really secure my position. I may not like it, but I don't have a choice. We got a chance to see that. And that's the beauty of the show, being able to formulate your own opinion. So yeah, man, appreciate it, man. As always, bro. Thank you for being here. Next up, we got Uncle Keith in the building. Uncle Keith, hold on with you, Uncle Keith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. All I have to say about this movie is to see Darth Vader's summer home on Mustafar. That's all I need to see.
You see summer home, bro.
Summer home on Mustafar. That's all I need.
That's all you need to see, bro.
That was great, man. It was great. Now, listen, this movie was surprising when I went to the theater to see it. Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't even know what the story was going to be about, but I went and saw it anyway, and I loved it. From the first opening scene to, with the Death Troopers and all that business, and it laid a groundwork for what Star Wars could be and should be, and that's the reason why I liked it. And like I said, to see Rogue One, and then to segue right into the movie, which I did. I watched it all, I jumped right to the movie. And, just to think about, wow, to what's going to happen at the end of this movie. Yeah. It's like, man, I wish I didn't really know what was going to happen. But
because the show made you sort of forget.
Yeah.
It almost made you forget that, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're going to die, bro.
Yeah, they're both he's gonna die. He's gonna die. So well, the father and Galen died too. So it was like that. That's what was kind of sad about the whole thing. But like I said, Krennic, it couldn't have been no more than evil than anybody in the whole galactic empire. He was horrible. All he cared about was him. He didn't care about anything. The millions of people he was gonna kill, he just didn't care. Yeah. And like I said, and of course we know about the last scene in the movie with Darth Vader, which was, like I said, every time we talk about it, I told you I was sitting there smiling from ear to ear in the hallway, and Vader just doing what Vader does, and that's jacking people up, and that's what I loved about it.
Hell bro.
But he's evil too, but we love it.
I mean, is he though? Is he? Well, we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that. We'll get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest in the building, and literally like just came over here stunting on everybody, like just out of nowhere, and then smiling once she did it, as if to say, she gave it that Dan. You know what I mean? So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest. We have Kendra in the building, all the way from the Imperial occupation. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here. And obviously, as you have all seen, I really love Rogue One. I love any time K2 or any of the K extras are in anything. And I'm really excited to talk about this film.
Okay, we're not going to let you off the hook like that, right?
Yes, I know. And we're going to have to show everyone. All right, here he is.
This K2SO. Look at this. Are you kidding me, man? Like, are you kidding me? Like, literally. Flex to
the infinity flex.
You know what I mean? Everybody out in the chat, I know they're gonna have something to say, because it's definitely gonna happen in just a few moments. We already got my man Malika Bain saying peace, Kendra. So definitely look at friends. K2S. Oh, he said, oh wow.
We've got our 1/6 scale. She's got full size.
Yeah, full size.
Can't compete with that, Lael. I can't compete.
You can't do it. You cannot, but definitely thank you for being in attendance tonight. X was like, "Hey, my friend, you would definitely need to have her." I was like, "Yeah, man, bring her on. Like the more the merrier. Let's tell her to come on." So thank you. So definitely thank you for gracing us with your presence tonight, man. As always, and thank you guys out in the chat, man, for being here. It's going to be an incredible. This is the celebration of Rogue One, a show that we definitely love. I remember that night we had actually went to go see it. Me, Vinny, and a bunch of us, the whole crew, went and saw it. And that infamous scene at the very end, Tobar, that you was talking about, Uncle Keith, when Vader came. My daughter, after that entire scene, she was the first one to stand up. She stood up while everybody was sitting down and just gave it a round of applause. And then everybody started clapping and screaming.
I was clapping, dude. I was like, oh man,
bro, amazing.
My jaw was on the floor because when that happened, I think I yelled, "Holy shit!"
Right? like literally, bro. Like it was a slaughterhouse, bro. And it was
terrifying because you think about it. That's a lot of the rebels. The vast majority had no idea who Darth Vader was.
Had no idea.
So they're looking at him like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
And when they have a chance to even know, they're like, "Yeah, no."
When the red lightsaber, they said, "Oh damn, we're in trouble."
But not even that, bro. Like because the blaster fire stopped. Yeah. They turned around. It stopped before his his hilt and the blade it lit. Man. I wouldn't see. That's the thing. Is like I'm not the person that wants to watch. I would have probably been behind everybody knocking on the door, like, "Yo, can y'all let me out? Y'all let me out. Let me out. Let me literally let me out, man."
Laid down and played dead.
Something, bro. You don't have a choice. Like literally, I'm not gonna just watch him slaughter. Obviously, bro. You're watching people shoot. The shots are bouncing off of him like it's nothing.
Beautiful.
Right then, the first shot, there's no penetrating.
You can do.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do, bro. But try to leave. But
either that one shot he catches the shot, holds on to it.
Yeah, he did,
and then lets the shot go.
Bro.
And then when he had old boy up on the roof and he's walking by and he's still doing and he says, "Here you go, zip."
Yeah, bro. Like straight up. Like it's definitely terrifying, man.
My favorite theory about that hallway scene is the fact that we don't hear him breathing and his light box is off, and the idea that people put out there instantly, which meant he turned off his light support systems to be a sassy bitch. And just of the lightsaber, and that's his entrance. Yeah,
I'm gonna hold my breath and kill you.
What's truly insane is that was added in almost right before the film was done.
Yeah, I know.
They added that in 6 months before it was ready to roll out. Hey, I got an idea, and it's
well, whoever made that decision made a great decision.
And that's. I think I blame Andor for this, but recently it seems, and it could be my ignorance because I love Rogue One, but I'm not an expert on everything. But they're talking about more so now, I think, than ever, how they chopped the crap out of that movie, the reshoots and everything, and we know what happens with whispers with reshoots. Solo was plagued with that, but. Knowing that there's so many reshoots and changes to the story, to the script, and all that was basically Tony Gilroy, I think it's even more of a testament to the people who made the film that all of those changes were done for the better. And I remember with James Earl Jones, Gareth Edwards saying "Oh yeah, we had him in the booth to record his lines, and he was saying his lines, and it was something just power." And James Earl Jones was like, "Gareth, was that okay?" And they're in the booth yeah, that was okay. You're tears. Are you kidding me? You're asking for direction from the director. You don't need any. Just.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Consummate actor. I love it.
Bro, bringing him in, and I know there were concerns. People were talking about how much older he sounded, but I thought that it actually for him fit. And it fit the scene. I mean, remember that Vader is in constant pain. Yeah. So who knows? He's just getting out of Bapta tank. Who knows what state of mind he's in at that particular point? He's disturbed. Who knows what I mean, there's little stories in between of how much pain he was in. I mean, we already know basically he was just a vessel, being used at that point. And Palpatine being very dismissive of that pain. He didn't care. So there was so much with it. So I thought the scene just fits. I thought the dialogue fit. Again, just how menacing it was. None of us, now we saw it, like, even with the Vinny, I'm sorry because you didn't watch the trailers, but we saw it teased in the trailers, but it was a totally different scene. It never made the cut.
No.
At all. You know what I mean? It was a totally different scene that never made the cut. And I thought that this basically served it well. They did such a phenomenal job with it, man. And I love it. Before we actually do a deep dive, though, let me say what's up to the chat. Well, actually, before I say what's up to the chat, man, I got to show this off. I'm going to do this first. We're going to do this in order real quick. So, as always do, pay homage to the places where we get some of our collectibles from and some of the pieces. I got to pull this up first. And I'm doing this specifically for a reason, and then I'll show you something in a minute. Now, this is Vincent Dunn art, right? So this is Vincent's store. This is where you can get a lot of his pieces. Again, if you're looking for him, he has a lot of Star Wars inspired pieces, and again, I'll let him get into that real quick. But I got to steal his thunder a little bit, man, because Kendra, check this out.
There he is.
Look at this man, man. Like, and Vinny, did you do this today?
I did that yesterday during the rain day.
Oh my goodness.
And like 2 other pieces prepping for Pittsburgh.
Wow.
That's nice, man. That's really nice, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Nice.
That was I've been meaning to do him for a minute, and Pitchuso's amazing, and I've been having fun with pastels on black, and I was like, what better time than and to celebrate Andor wrapping up and revisiting Rogue One than to do a K2SO piece. So I whipped this up yesterday when I had some time off and have fun with it. It was that was fun. I've been meaning to do him for a while. I don't think I had done any droids actually for Star Wars pieces, so he was a good fit, and have had fun with the detail and the composition and the lighting and all that. So thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Definitely, man. Again, Vincent Dunn Art, Instagram. Go on, the link is definitely there. You can get some nice little commission pieces you might be looking for that you couldn't find, or again, just let him know. You don't get the key to the room, though. Ain't gonna happen, Jack. But again, that's where you need to go. Go on his Instagram page. The link to his store is in the description, as always, bro. So you always know we got to champion this artwork and everything that you do, man.
Appreciate it, bro.
As always, bro. Definitely also got to give a shout out to my man Ray over there at Underground Figures. If you're looking for the latest and greatest updated pieces, sign up for that newsletter so you're always up to date as to when your figure might be arriving or when a new figure is being released. On top of that, no NRD. Create yourself an account because you never know when it's free shipping or figure your choice might be coming your way. Definitely, we got to give a shout out to our guy, Ray, over there also at Hawk Wars Toys. We call him Hawk Wars Ray. Nice little experience. You not only do you get the grail pieces that you're looking for, you get comic book stickers. Proud sponsor of everything that we got going on over at the Figure Flex Friday Facebook group. So hit him up. We'll definitely take care of you. Also, we got to talk to our guy Jacob over there at Comic Relief Comic Collectibles. If you're looking for latest and greatest, he got it. Also, he got physical media. We're talking about comics, source material, stuff that you're looking for to get yourself and reacclimated to some of these things that you got. Hit him up. He'll definitely take care of you. We always talk about my guy Brian Wong over there at Module Case Module Space. If you're looking for a nice little display case, display options, definitely make sure that you got it. I got the mono, but you can also get a display choice, display option of your own choice. And then last but not least, I mean, come on, man. I got to shout her out from the heavens, especially when people tell me or somebody told me, physically tried to volunteer me not to show her. And I'm like, man, you know what? Never tell me. What is it? Never tell me the odds. Never tell me not to do something when I'm going to actually do it anyway. So I definitely want to give a shout out to El Diluvio, Tina Cruz herself. I mean, she does God's work, especially if you're looking to get your figure of choice rooted. Again, nice little Bo-Katan pieces that she actually did. She did one for me. So again, if you're looking for a rooted version of your favorite characters, hit her up and she'll definitely take care of you as always. So let's go to chat real quick. I got to say what's up to everybody that's actually here with us this evening. Starting off with my man Pedro Lopez, waitlist closed. Wow. What's going on with you, brother? So glad to see you here. Who else we have in here? Benjamin E. Green is in here with us, man. Thank you for being here. Who else we got? Malika McBain is in the building. Thank you for being here with us, bro. As always, Renz Tolentino is in the building, artist extraordinaire as well. We got Chuck G in the building. Hey, Renz, did you watch Lord of the Rings yet? No? Okay. We got Chuck G in the building. Thank you for being here as always. Who else do we got in the building with us? We got my man Charlie the Unicorn in the building. Thank you for being here, brother. As always. Who else do we got in here? We got Amber May is in the building. Thank you for being here. She's the cookie queen. That's what Cece. Kendra. Listen. If you want some of the best chocolate chip cookies that you have ever tasted in life, listen. Check it out, Cece. I told Vinny, I was like, yo, was it Christmas? Y'all think it was around Christmas? Yeah. I was like, yo, Vinny, I need to get some cookies, bro. I need some. I drove up to his house. He came outside with a brown paper bag wrapped up and came out like it was crack or something.
Not the brown paper bag.
Yeah, bro. Looked around, threw it in the car, just bounced back, bro. But those cookies are phenomenal. Like literally some of the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever tasted because they're nice and warm. And when you pull them apart, you see man.
Vinny, for next year, just put a little bit of powdered sugar in a little bag.
Oh,
and
man.
just incorporate. Make it look even more sus.
Put some powdered sugar on. Let's get out of here, John.
Wow.
And dip. But definitely, man. Thank you, Amber, for being here as always. Who else we got in here with us? Let me see. Anybody that I might have forgotten? No, we got my man Donkinator, the Booty King here. Thank you for being here, brothers. Always. We got Mark P is in the building. Thank you for being here as always, man. We definitely appreciate you. And we got SB in the building. AS Bizzle is in the building. Thank you for being here with us as always, man. So again, we know why we are here. We know what the event is. We know what we're talking about here. And the beauty of this is the simple fact that we can always go back and revisit. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of actually having, the source material there. Anybody who has Disney Plus, you can watch it on full rotation. I have physical media as well. I like collecting the still boxes and stuff like that. But again, I wanted to kind of go back before we got Andor, before we actually got seasons 1 and 2, right? Disney, straight off the heels of Force Awakens at that particular time. And I think I believe this was the next entry, correct? Right after Force Awakens, in between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Yeah. It was.
We didn't know the crazy part was the story of how this came about and how this ended up on Kathleen Kennedy's desk. It was, what's his name? Sean
Knoll.
Yes. Sean Knoll. He was basically a graphic artist at that time, or was not a graphic artist, but
illustrator, right?
Illustrator, animation, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he thought of the idea, and I think he basically mentioned it to Kathleen Kennedy, right? Or he talked to her about it. And she sat with it for a while and was like, it's an interesting, premise, and he was like, people would want to know how the Death Star plans came about and who retrieved them. And he said he was thinking about a whole, like something that was more similar to like the Magnificent Seven type of heist type of film. And I remember doing, I think it was Celebration at that time. We got a chance to hear some of it. They showed us like a little snippet, but it wasn't the movie. You just heard, the Death Star sounds in the background. You heard a lot of commotion. You heard a lot of TIE fighters and pilots, commotion. We didn't know what this was about. We had no idea what this was going to actually be and going into it. That we got like the full cast listing. Felicity, got a chance to see her as a lead actress selected, but still there was no story beats. We know nothing about it and where it was going to go. I remember sitting in the theater And, watching it, we were off the high of, I mean, come on, man. Force Awakens dropped. It was Star Wars back in the theater. It was Christmas time. We were like, yo, it's no better feeling than this. You know what I mean? Like, Star Wars is back. That movie at the time was definitely received well. We were on to the next. I remember going to see this. And, man, by the end of it, I was like, I understand why we didn't get it years ago, why we didn't get it earlier on, why? Because the idea just wasn't there. But to see it, it was a whole new way to visualize things, and how they tied it into New Hope was phenomenal. And I'm like, now how are people going to receive this film? And when you talk about it now, people are putting this on their top 5 Star Wars films of all time. Some people even got it in their top 3. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what they think. So I want to go to you first. Your experience in watching this film for the first time, going into a completely clean slate, not knowing what you were going to experience. How were you receiving the information as you were watching it? Was it something that you were just like, wow, this is definitely something that I've wondered, and it was the seamless, how they weaved everything through? Now, I know we've heard about the reshoots and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure that Garrett Edwards had true good intentions, but it's funny to how, like, when we talk about this film, we don't hardly talk about him, and that's sad. All we talk about is Tony Gilroy. But how did you basically receive this?
Well, I had no idea what the film was going to be like, and I didn't watch the trailers or do anything like that before I saw the film. I wanted to be completely surprised. Mm-hmm. So when I finally did see the film, it was a pleasant surprise, and I knew we were going to see certain characters that were going to be familiar. So that wasn't any too far of a stretch. It was the characters that I was completely unfamiliar with that were so spectacular. I wasn't expecting to see the Force in this way. And I think for many of us, at least for me, I always want to learn more about the Force, and I wasn't expecting to see it presented in this manner. So the notion that it was, more of kind of like a belief, and perhaps, everybody has heard about it in this particular context, was very different from the way I'd seen the Force represented before. So it was really amazing, because it felt as if a good portion of the people in the film knew about what was going on. And there was a lot at stake as well. So it was a beautiful presentation. From what I understand, I could be wrong, but they tried to use a lot of the props and costumes from the original series, or at least from the 1970s, to give it an authentic look. I could be incorrect on that, but I think I heard something about that. And that was all part of making it flow and feel seamless and feel like the same, universe, really. If they were not able to tie it in so seamlessly, I don't think that the film would have had the impact that it's had, because it just really does flow seamlessly at this point. So to put something like this into live action, knowing what comes next is a huge, huge accomplishment. I mean, I think a lot of people wouldn't want to do this, because every 5 minutes they would say, well, maybe we shouldn't do that scene. We have to think about this, or maybe we shouldn't do this. We have to think about that. And I understand production designers really just trying to wrap their head around going back into the archives, looking at old footage, getting, all the actors who you want to reprise their roles back, because that also had a lot to do with the authenticity and believability of the film. We needed to see a lot of familiar characters, and just bringing people back who could play roles of individuals that we believe this is really that character was really remarkable. I think it's maybe one of the best achievements they've ever done, because it's so close in time to A New Hope. So now all of a sudden there was that sense of, you have to respect what's coming up next, because you're not trying to change the future. You're not changing the future. And so then you had to have that continuity and make sure it makes sense in this context. Now, I think it was really interesting to bring in someone who does martial artists, who's a martial artist, so to speak. And I love martial arts films, but it's not necessarily something we always see in this manner that we saw in Rogue One. So I thought it was beautiful. I know that this martial artist, he does a lot of Tai Chi. His movements are very fluid and somewhat graceful, even for someone who's fighting. And we even saw Jin do a few moves, and I was surprised if they kind of inspired each other, or they wanted to give her that kind of feel. But I think it was a very, Zen style way of showing individuals who believe in the Force, and it's a presence that's there, even if they're not Force wielders or users of the Force.
Yeah.
They felt like they had to believe in this, and it was important in the story. So it's important in Star Wars, and it was important to these individuals, even though they were not, let's say, heavy Force users. I mean, he believed in this so much. And I'm even saying, like, the Force is with me. I believe in the Force. I walked out of there saying that. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of laughing at myself because I'm like, this is a little nerdy. I'm like, I don't care. The Force is with me. I believe in the Force.
I don't care.
I didn't expect to walk into the theater and walk out saying those words, but I believed it. It made me believe even more in this universe, and I wasn't expecting to get deeper into what was going on behind the scenes. And I think also we had such beautiful I guess fighting scenes, or like, for example, when they're on Scarab, and it's just beautifully done. This was a labor of love almost in the way it was handled. And I think that it does show that, when the people who are making any kind of story, additional story that maybe wasn't anything anybody was expecting, or maybe it was even elaborated more in the books, because there's just so many, there's such a catalog. But when you go ahead and do something like this and you endeavor to do it, the love will show. And it's obviously whoever did this loved doing this, and it was a labor of love, and the performances were amazing. And I've heard people say that it might have felt a little rushed. I think one thing that I have to say, or at least how I feel about it, is that time was ticking in Rogue One. Like, they really were, like, it was literally, they had to hurry up and get going and do certain things. And, before you knew it, they're on Jeddah, and all of a sudden Jeddah's no more. Like, it really did feel like there was this certain sense of urgency, and it was okay to have that. I think because it was towards such a crucial and pivotal point in the timeline, that it had to have that certain sense of urgency. It's like at such a rapid pace, but it almost had to be at a rapid pace, or else you would lose some of the momentum of what the rebels are doing. They almost even, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I almost got the sense that the rebels were exhausted at this point. Like, they're exhausted. They're at a point of, like, it's over. We're giving up. That's it. We can't defeat this thing. We're done. And I think that I can understand why they would feel that way. They've been fighting for so long. They've been going through all these challenges. What happens when they kind of lose faith a little bit?
Yeah.
Rogue One happens. All of a sudden, we have this extra bit of information, which obviously, is very important to know. But I understand that feeling. These guys have been fighting forever. Now that we have Andor, we know even more about what they've gone through. It's something to think about when they've already given up so much. Hi, Latoya. Already, when they've already sacrificed so much already, what does it feel like to be in that position? It's like, you got to convince me. You really got to convince me to go out there and put my neck on the line again. We don't even have everything we need to go. So it was wonderful. It felt like we needed to know more about this. And certainly, I had never really read that much about the Death Star. I'll just be honest with you. I've never read very much about the Death Star, but I thought it was important to kind of understand why it was needed, the threat of it, the potential threat of it. And it was just really beautifully done. I think it's very hard to kind of match that level of expertise. And maybe we found that level of expertise in Andor when it comes to production and production design, but it was hard. This was not, the movie was maybe just, I don't know, an incredible and impossible feat that they accomplished. I don't really see anything wrong with the film at all.
There was nothing wrong with this film, nothing at all. I think it was paced well. It was paced just right for the film and the story that they were trying to tell. So I have no marks for it. Only marks I have is I wanted more by the end of it. I just wanted so much more.
We need Scarab Tales, right? Or
yeah.
Jetta Tales.
And it's always space open for it. CC, your experience in this, well, you were forced to sit down. There was no dip set for you, but what was your your experience seeing it for the first time on the screen?
I saw it, I think, multiple times in theaters, but it was more my friends had weird schedules, and they were like, "What do you mean you don't mind seeing it twice?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't mind seeing it twice." I appreciated that this finally, at least to me, and I'm a devotee. I'm one of the few that like I would put this in the top 3 with like ESB and Return of the Jedi. I feel like this finally brought the war to Star Wars.
Yes.
And it landed kind of what the prequels was trying to do as far as like setting the groundwork with the politics. I think this one actually, it felt like a World War II movie, perhaps like a more of a war story than anything else. Kind of like Andor felt more like a spy story. And pacing is quite jarring, especially when you compare the two. But that's going to happen when you talk about the fact that we got almost 12 hours a season in Andor versus this movie that's three hours and something minutes long. So it's always going to feel like really fast paced for that reason. But also when you factor in what we now know, how much it got to that point for them to get the information that they had in order to make these really quick decisions. I struggle to find issues with the movie. There's some parts that, like some characters I felt maybe could have deserved like a little more screen time. And I'm not saying like Cassian or Jenner, so I'm talking about like, they did at least make us feel for all of these characters. And the ones that didn't get much screen time, you understood like the sacrifice or what they went through, even without having Andor as the context beforehand. And Rita mentioned not knowing much about the Death Star. I also am not an expert on the Death Star, but years ago I read one of the Legends books I think it was literally called Death Star, and it chronicled the lives of different people on the Death Star leading up to New Hope. And we all know what happens with the first Death Star. And I think that really humanized the fact that like, holy crap, that was like a second Alderaan almost, considering how many people were on that ship and like what was going through their lives, whether they were like the troopers, just like nuances. Because I at least with the original trilogy, I felt like some of the choices, like Alderaan, didn't mean much to me. I don't know if I'm just a callous jerk, but seeing Alderaan go up and smoke, like it was like, okay, it's very an abstract idea. But then with Rogue One, it kind of it humanized the rebellion in a way that Death Star book humanized all the people who are on the Death Star for me. As far as like, okay, you see the gravity of the situation because you see the players involved. And I think incorporating the characters of the pilots from archival footage, like we see the original Red 5 before Luke, really helped with that. There are a lot of really, like Rita said, stylistic choices as far as the men had to have those 70s mustaches and shag haircuts and stuff like that to kind of give the illusion that it was set in the same time period. But I think, of course, there's like when I think of this film, I compare it to things like Band of Brothers or Dunkirk or like 1918, like not sci-fi, which is odd when you think about it. And it had just the right, speaking of sci-fi, between like K2SO and some of the lines that are on the more funny side, like they do hit and they hit when they should. It's not too much. It's not too little. Everything has like a gravitas to it. I think also what shocked a lot of people about this film, even now to this day, is it was proof that, and I don't get on my case because I think this is a Captain Picard quote, but the heroes did absolutely everything right and could still fail. Like they all died. That doesn't mean that like the mission failed, but it means like what they did what they set out to do, but it still meant they weren't walking away. And that and we learned that with Andor as well. Like they knew what they were getting into. So that was really refreshing, where it's like towards the end of the movie, you're like, whoa, like this is intense. Like we're not used to seeing the heroes do what they need to or sacrifice and then also like not walk away and not be able to sell it. You don't get the fireworks at the end of Return of the Jedi. And then we also had like I loved it, but obviously it could be considered a little like fan servicey, but we had like Darth Vader and like that hallway scene and
man, listen.
And talk about like the characters that they brought back. He's actually not the first one I think of. I think of like the subtle cameos as opposed to Darth Vader. Obviously, I'm a huge Darth Vader fan, but I think, especially with everything we know about Andor, I think it's been stressed that when I first saw that scene, it was like a incredible demonstration of his power. And now when I see it, because they said that watching Andor would change our perspective on the movie, and it totally did in various different ways. And one of them for me is I'm not paying attention to how like badass Vader is. He still is, but I'm thinking, holy shit, how brave are those rebels?
Exactly.
You don't even know what's on that disc. They don't even have the security clearance. They're not on the payroll like that. They don't have the rank. Like most of them probably have no idea what's on that disc. All they know is they have to get it down that freaking hallway. And I think that's what makes that scene even better than it was before, which you thought was like, that's not possible to make it better than it was before. And they did it. They somehow managed to do it.
Yeah. That's exactly. And the one thing that you said was there were no fireworks at the end of this. I mean, if you want to count the explosions and the lives that were lost in deep space as fireworks, I mean, those are sacrifices, wars fought, wounds being licked, people trying to escape after the plans were retrieved. Again,
there's
like,
one that's saying like they have hope, but you're still like battered, broken, traumatized, hyperventilating because you just saw all these people that you got to know for 2 hours and kind of sympathize with and understand not make it. And so I think that makes everything you saw in the original trilogy as well that much more important, because the rebels were like, we saw Luke lose his family, but everyone else is very anonymous. We don't know who they are or what they're, and even these characters, we don't know Cassian's backstory. We just know what he tells Jyn about his life and about the mission. And it's enough to like have us rooting for them. So I think, because that was talked about quite a bit as far as the changes last minute to the movie, like who's going to live, who's going to die. And it was not always set in stone that Cassian or Jyn were gonna die. But I still think that's what separates, like, I hate this phrase, like the men from the boys, like they made that decision and it was the perfect one. And to think about it any other way, I think takes a lot from the overall film.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. I'm just all around in this regards. Kendra, your experience, I mean, again, I really can't tell if you're a Rogue One fan or not. Hint, hint. But
I don't think she likes it too much.
I really don't think she likes it.
It is actually one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. Yeah, to sort of echo what Cece was saying, like you connect emotionally to these characters, you resonate with them, you feel for them, even with the limited amount of time that you get with them. And that's why I can't love this movie, is because it is heart-wrenching to watch them die. To just, and they do, as Luthen says, like, don't you want to give it all for something real? And they do. But at the same time, it's soul crushing, especially like you now know that like Cassian has a baby. He doesn't even know who's waiting for him.
Man.
And I've read a lot of the outside material, a lot of the novels. I've read the Rogue One. I've read the Rogue One novelization, Jin's prequel. Jin's life sucks. Oh my god. Jyn gets nothing good in her life.
Nothing good. nothing good
Yeah.
left without any type of reprieve at that particular
Oh my
point.
God, yes.
She was just
And
left
just
on her own in general.
yeah. Well, not only that, like, and also like talking about left on your own, like I came at this from a very different perspective. I had watched all the trailers. Like, I love AT-ATs. I'm obsessed. I dressed up to go. I knew Saw was going to be in it, and I've been like a Clone Wars fan for years. And you still don't know what's going to happen. Like, even if you have these connections and you're excited, this story hits you hard. It is a gut punch.
Yeah, it is. It's you can't. Here's the thing, and I was thinking about this, and Vinny, I'm gonna leave you last though because I had a question for you, especially considering that you said you see it differently. But X, the whole time that I was watching Andor, seasons 1, season 2, I kept going back to One Way Out. And the simple fact that by the end of season 1, we know that there was a prison pipeline being ran from that facility. They were building parts, literally, for the Death Star. And then we got a chance to basically see it coming to fruition, sort of, or we're seeing that at the end of season 1. So when we go to season 2 and we're getting all the time jumps, I'm like, this entire time, these motherfuckers have been building this thing.
Years.
They have been for years.
It's been 10 years. You said they've been building for 10 years.
Exactly. And it was still an occupation going on. It was still an occupation. That prison, even though One Way Out, some of them escaped, some of them was like, I can't swim. I mean, still, this is what was happening. And we're seeing the progression of this murder machine that is destroying planets coming to fruition and lives that are being lost along the way. I was thinking one question, and I had always thought about this before. I was like, okay, Alderaan, I mean, and we have Alderaan and we have, Dantooine and we have these places. Planets were destroyed. I was like, yo, was it possible that, there was some survival and we didn't know? People got off planet before it was basically that, Senator Organa actually did survive. Then that question was answered. No, he didn't. You know what I mean? So, but just knowing all that up until this point, and I kind of echo what Kendra said. This is a tragic ass film that I love. But it still hits me hard. X, what was your, like, thinking about Andor leading into this and seeing this film? Like, where are you at now, bro?
Where am I at? One word: climb.
Climb. Yeah, bro.
Remember in Mimic
bro.
Yelling climb.
Yeah.
You remember them trying to get out of the prison. Climb.
Yeah.
You remember them you remember K2SO in Rogue One when he's like, climb. You have to climb. So that theme of climbing, climb.
Neil and Fern. I forgot about them. Neil and Fern. Remember they were climbing?
Yeah, it's like climb. He just kept, he just kept coming up again and again and again, just that one word, climb. And the fact that you see just how we got to where we got, whether it's, just bumping up prison numbers for the sole purpose of building, this machine and extending prison sentences for that. The fact that in Andor season 2, they mention, when they talk about the energy project, Bail Organa's like, oh yeah, we've been funding that for years. It's like, yes, you have been funding it for years. You've never inspected it. You don't know what you're funding the Death Star. The Senate is funding the Death Star. You're approving the funding for this project. You don't know what this project is, but you've been approving it for years, and you're about to find out the hard way what this particular project is. But this particular, Rogue One in and of itself, we mentioned the pacing of it and the fact, some people feel like it's fast moving. Star Wars films are fast moving for the most part. They're fast moving. Like, get one thing, you get to the next thing, and the next thing, the next thing. And in Rogue One, Tarkin even says, when has become now. Like, the Emperor will tolerate no further delays. You have made time an ally of the rebellion. They're all up against the clock. They're all like, hey, the rebels know that they're this close to this weapon actually being, fully functional, and they're going to lose their shot. Krennic and Tarkin, they know that, hey, this thing is a few more tests and we're good to go with this thing. We can unleash it. So they're really all, racing against time. So it's no wonder that the movie moves at the pace that it does, because it's a race, a race against time to take this thing down or to keep this thing operational. And the fact that you see, Cassian, when he tells Jyn, he's like, I'm not the one you have to convince. He knows how difficult it is to try to convince, the rebels, the rebel leadership of anything. You see that in Andor season 2, where it's just like he's trying to tell you, and they are just so against it. And then in Rogue One, they're so against it. But then we've also seen Cassian disobey orders. And what do they have to do in order to get the Death Star plans? They have to disobey orders. And so it's not the first time Cassian's disobeyed orders, and it wasn't the last time. And thankfully, they did decide to disobey orders and just go and do it themselves. They decided the rebels within the rebellion had to rebel against, the uptight leadership that wasn't willing, to budge. Everything about this film, I absolutely love. The fact that it is war, it's ground level war, and it has stakes. Like the fact that it's like, no, this is what warfare looks like within Star Wars, and the fact that it's showing us things that we've never seen before. It's showing us trooper designs that we've never seen, like the Death Troopers, the tank commanders, the shore troopers. Exactly. It's showing us the Death Star upside down. It's like, well, why wouldn't it be able to be upside down to get a better shot? It makes perfect sense. You just never think of it like moving like that.
Exactly.
And it shows some really the space battles in it were just absolutely phenomenal. So I love everything about this film. And I thought they, working within the confines that they were working within, because you think about it, they were kind of boxed in at the time this movie came out, and that we know what comes next. So we don't want to mess up what comes next. We don't want to mess up any of the characters that come after this in the quote unquote sequel, being A New Hope. So how do you tell a story within this sandbox? And they did it so well. And thankfully, 9 years later, they went and said, now let's add to it.
Yeah. And they
Kendra something. Now, on this panel, Liel has an issue with a certain things that happen to a certain K2 unit, and
so do I.
And he won't let it go.
I won't let it go either.
Do you have any insight on why he has armor in Andor, but in this movie he doesn't? You know anything about that? I just
like how his armor in Andor wasn't penetrable.
Yeah,
but yet
so that is a difficult question to answer. They haven't canonically explained what K2SO is made out of, but it is something that we see. Star Wars is not exactly great with its continuity. We've seen throughout the years lightsabers doing one thing, killing somebody, and doing something else 5 minutes later. Star Wars is not always power level even.
Okay.
And I think it's all in the name of what serves the story best.
We've been trying to get him to realize that, but he won't let it go. He won't.
No, I'm never letting that shit go, bro. Because it doesn't. It's
like you won't let the Jedi the super dash that happens at the beginning.
That either. No, he'll never let that go.
It doesn't make sense, bro. Like
that is exactly the point. Star Wars is not perfect. It's never going to be.
I was watching Ahsoka the other day, and when she was fighting those 3 droids at the temple, and they they're self-destructing, and she started running. I'm going like, damn, Lil's right. Why can't she do the super fast run and take off and jump into the?
I guess it only works with some folks, bro. Right. I guess it only works with some folks, or maybe you just exhausted, depleted your energy while fighting. You couldn't do it. It's never the Force is never explained.
I know.
All you need to know is that I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. That's it.
But one thing I want to talk about Andor real quick.
Go ahead.
The character itself is that, as you can see, some situations he's a stone cold killer. In some situation, he has compassion. Because when he had his gun sights on Galen, he could have easily killed him.
Oh, he could have smoked him.
But he knew what that would do to Jen, even though he was killed anyway, but not by his hand. So that shows me that, you know, he still has some humanity in him, even before later on when the first part when he saw Tivix, he had no compunction about blasting him.
I know.
He just wasted
that
him.
part was the Luthen part. That was the Luthen influence. And then
Yeah.
later on, it's just like, well, wait, you didn't fully, you know.
Yeah.
So he didn't
think
fully
that-
let go of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar kind of calculation, and Cassian definitely is more compassionate.
Yeah,
But I think he looked at that Galen Erso scene, and it was less about what it would do to Jin, and more about like maybe we've got a shot to get this guy out.
Maybe.
Maybe that's something that's now informed by Andor.
Yeah, maybe we can get him out. Maybe we can get the answers that we need at this particular time, not knowing where it would go. That's why, again, he wanted to order, you know, the initial flight plan or ordered the fighters off, like at that point. But it was then that it was too late. By then, the command was already made. So it's I mean, here's the thing, bro. Like I always look at Andor's character as a tortured soul who has no compunctions for doing whatever's needed. And because he's a soldier. That's the one thing that I love that this film did, is that it completely flips our idea of the rebellion upside down. And that's exactly what Andor did. Because by the end of season 2, I couldn't trust a single soul at all. I don't think I can trust the person I'm eating breakfast with next on Yavin. There's no way, like literally, because I don't know if somebody might order a hit. If you're being nice to me and at night you might knife me or shoot me, or maybe you think I'm hiding something, I would know. I mean, that's why
we're better off than being with Saw.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my.
You don't want to be with
lies, deception. Every day, more lies.
You definitely don't. You don't want to be with that.
Sniff some of this gas.
Have some rhino. That's freedom, boy. That's freedom.
Vinny, your thoughts, man. I mean, remember us seeing it, you know, in the theaters and what we felt. And at that time, we did put a stamp on it being one of the greatest experiences that we had in theater. Because again, like what was said, like CC said, we finally got the war aspect of Star Wars, something that we actually seen in the heist. We finally got that. Not like we didn't get hints of it before, but this was all out, like a bloodbath, you know, from every perspective. And we got a chance to actually see that for the first time on screen. What were your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I was definitely blown away the first time I seen it. Going into it, I had already been a fan of Gareth Edwards from Godzilla. The 2014 joint is phenomenal to me, and I liked his older indie flick Monsters.
Yes.
The big draw for me going in, like aside from all the Star Wars stuff, was at the time and still am. Mentioned it earlier, but I'm a huge martial arts head. So Donnie Yen being in this was huge for me, especially right after Force Awakens, with having the raid crew in it with Iko Uwais and Yuan Rhan, and they catch them there. And it was like, holy shit, like the Star Wars executives like love like Hong Kong martial arts, not the like Jason Statham, like, you know, Jason Bourne shit that we get over here, like the actual Hong Kong stuff. So seeing you know, respect shown to Donnie Yen and the raid crew, because Ip Man had came out just a couple years prior, so it was such a huge deal to me to see Donnie Yen in this, and also heartbreaking that he was gonna just be force sensitive and not have a lightsaber and just have a staff. However, I was like, I'll take what I can get. So Donnie was a huge draw for this for me, because I just love that dude. He can do no wrong. He's one of the legends in show business, and I felt like this was one of the most well-rounded Star Wars films that we've ever gotten. Like, I don't necessarily put it in my top 3, but I could see it in my top 5. And the reason is it hits all the Star Wars beats. Like, it has politics, it has action, it has dogfights, it has lightsabers, it has great writing, special effects, it has all the Star Wars things, right? And I love how just it also feels like the Star Wars magic, but it never feels like it never feels like it was just a fan service here to just put it out just to make some money off of Star Wars IP, because this is, everybody's got to remember, like, this is fresh off of the Disney buyout where people were like, oh, the mouse has got it, oh great, like they're gonna put out some bullshit because that's what, you know, is what they do. But I loved Force Awakens, and then I loved this. I felt like this was going to be just, I thought we were in heaven. Like, this was a really fantastical film. And then the other cool thing about it was, like we were all just talking about earlier with suspension of disbelief with powers not being level. You know, you got armor that works in one show and not in this movie, stuff like that. One of the old gags back in the day, like as we were kids, was, you know, the Empire's all these strategic brilliant minds and all this money, and they rule the whole galaxy, but the dumbasses couldn't, you know, get blown up with just one shot. And like, but this like kind of explain that plot hole or joke. It was intentional. It was sabotaged. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like they were too dumb to realize that, hey, this thing, if it gets hit, it would all blow up. Like, that wasn't supposed to cause a chain reaction if one of the engines, you know what I mean? And Galen put that in there. I truly wholeheartedly believe, especially after watching Andor and really after watching Rogue One, that the only reason Galen survived Cassian was plot armor, because Cassian is, I'm sorry, a fucking murderer. He has no hesitation of killing anybody who needed taken out. The entire, I mean, this is not somebody like, one of the things I really like about that character is in a show like Star Wars, there's, you know, it's for kids too. Like, you can't have anybody who you're supposed to be a good guy. Like, you got to have Han Solo telling some jokes instead of just being a pirate. Like, you got to soften them. But I don't think they ever really try, other than Bix, in the love interest part, they never really tried to like sugarcoat or make you sympathize with Cassian on a morality level when it came to doing what needed to be done. If someone needed to be taken out, he was not going back and forth. He had no problem looking himself in the mirror. In a beautiful and sad way, his whole life was like house money. Like, he didn't, like, he lost his sister, and it's like he was never the same since. Nothing that it's one of the reasons why I don't find the ending as tragic as most people. I feel like Jen and Cassian's life
were mirrored in a sense.
Yeah, and I feel like in a way, they got to be free. They got to rest. Their life was almost worse than their end. So I feel like on a spiritual level, they won. Like, they got to go to the next place. Like, they got to go, you know what I mean? Like, take whatever you will about what you believe or whatever. Think about how horrible Jen's life was. Her entire life was destroyed when she was a child. And then she was basically given to a terrorist.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then, you know, putting his, like, just look at her, how she carries herself. This is someone heavily, deeply depressed. And look at how Cassian carries himself. This is someone who's fucked in the head. These are not happy people who, this isn't like Tony in Endgame where he had everything and he had to give it up and leave his family. No, this is people who had nothing. So, like, in a way, this was, you know, this was a win for them. This was them getting to finally relax and like have something to show for it. It wasn't in vain. Their lives being destroyed, like, it mattered. So I think it was a beautiful ending for them, actually. But I think that there's so much that Andor fleshes out about Rogue One in very subtle ways. Like, when Cassian is going through Jeddah, I never really thought about it the first time I watched Rogue One. But this is a man who is like, if you grew up in the city and there's an expression like the block is hot, he knew that, yo, we got to get out of here. And there's people who are oblivious who don't know, like, shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
He knew it was about to go down. He could feel the energy, he could feel the vibe, and it just harkens right back to all the other places he's been, like Gorman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Where he was there, not just during, but like he was there before, and he felt the temperature rising, and it was like
he felt the occupation.
Let's get the fuck out here. Come on, we gotta go. Like, this is
we gotta go.
Down. I'm not sure what, but I know I don't want to be. I don't want to be here for it.
I don't need to be around. Like literally, it's they're about to light it up. Like
in
general,
I think that they hit all these beats, boom, 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 and then I feel like they also did just tremendous things with like the X-Wings and the Rogue Squadron. Like, it gave us so much fan service without being like, hey guys, here's your favorite guy.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
It never felt like here, go buy this toy. It never felt like that. And then they threw Vader in, and I know that that's part of the fan service, but it made sense because it isn't like they just put Vader in it just to put him in it. Like, it made sense in like the realm of the film. And I think what most people aren't like thinking about or forget sometimes is we got an entire prequel trilogy about Vader without really seeing Vader in action.
Bro.
This was the first time we got to see Vader in action.
You are 100% right.
In 30 years. So, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I don't understand anybody hating on Kenobi. It's like, I'll take Kenobi any day because I got to see Vader in action again. Like, I can't ever get enough of that. And it wasn't just the hallway scene, just the interaction with Krennic. You woke me up out my back to tank, and you interrupted me. I gotta sit, like I was chilling, and I gotta put on my shit to talk to you. Right? and I think that
I came here for peace, and you just now you gonna make me do this?
This is my summer home. Leave me alone.
And I truly feel Krennic is one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. The mixture of this film and Andor, because unlike a Hux who is like a cornball, or unlike a Tarkin who doesn't really like, there's no well-rounded, there's no like there's nothing super interesting about Tarkin other than like he's just evil just to be evil. Krennic is somebody who's clearly intelligent, ambitious, all these things, but also just an amazing actor too. So it had so much going for it. And I think that it really was a time where Disney had so much confidence, self-control, and faith in their own gut choices that I really wish they could get back to this. It's so sad that we only had one more Star Wars story after this. Yeah. It's so insane that they never tried again after Solo. It's so sad because look how beautiful and amazing this film was. So
yeah,
it sucks. I just look at it as no matter what they do, no matter what they don't do, you can't take away from us that we got this film. And I'm so happy that they took the chance that this film took the chance that Andor was, because a lot of the BS that Star Wars fans give them is unwarranted, because but a lot of it is. But we got this, and I think that it counts for a lot because it's a beautiful piece of cinema,
bro. As much vitriol and ignorance that is or thrown at Kathleen Kennedy, remember she had to sign off on this shit for it to happen.
Yeah,
like literally she had to sign off. So there was some level of belief in where this could actually go. It was an idea. So that's what I'm saying. Like this,
it was pitched 3 times.
Yeah,
it was pitched 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely pitched and by this man.
Yep, there he is.
You know what I mean? It was a story that was pitched by him. You know what I mean? And definitely give him the credit for being so bold to pitch and to stick with it and to help formulate the idea. Because again, the film, what this film did, bro, like and this is where it kind of mixes me up, because we ask, and I say this all the time, we ask for what is different. Is a vast galaxy out there. We want something completely different. We want stories that are told that aren't directly tied in. Now, again, Gilroy could have easily said, you know what, we're going to make it a fan servicey type of IP right now with this prequel type of setting. We're just going to give you member berries all over the place. And he refused to. He refused to do it in Andor season 2. And he somewhat refused to do. I think they shoehorned Vader in because it was an ask at that particular point. But originally the idea wasn't to have Vader there. He didn't want to have Vader in it. You know what I mean? So
I think that harken back to we've seen Darth Vader board many ships, not just that time. So I think that's when Vinny said it made sense to have him there, because in the first in New Hope, what do we see? Darth Vader boarding the ship, coming through the door. It was many times on Hoth. He shows up. He's the leader of the pack. So to have him in this movie, coming, boarding the ship, trying to get what he needs to get, made a lot of sense.
Well, as the situation escalates, because everything it's starting small, and Krennic's like, I got this. It's like things are getting out of hand, and Imperial facility is openly attacked. Yeah. So you start to bring out the big guns. Yep. And finally Tarkin's just like, inform Lord Vader. It's like, no. The shit's going down. We need to go to Scarif. This has come to a head. And it's time to bring out the big guns. No more playing around. And that's where Vader comes in. And people were like, well, why wasn't Vader in Andor in season 1 and season 2? That's small potatoes.
There was no motivation. There was no motivation at that point.
Vader's not going to come out for something like that.
No. There was no motivation for it at that time, because even though we see it in the viewership, we see it in the people who are experiencing these horrific acts, they're seeing it from a totally for them it's liberation. For the occupation is resource. And at that time it was there was no, throughout the entire run, we didn't see a full-fledged rebellion established until the end. You know what I mean? So there was no reason for the pushback. There was no reason to unleash until it was needed at that time. All we knew, Vader at this point was still searching the galaxy for Jedi who were lost and were hiding and whatever, still searching for revenge in that aspect, still looking for Obi-Wan, in that aspect. He had other things that were there. Gilroy was talking about, and I want to kind of bring up this scene as well. I had it up here early. Now, first, you know what? And I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying earlier about the cast. This was the original concept for the cast and how they would have looked. This was a first look concept of what we could have actually gotten, from Rogue One. Again, we see so much concept art. I brought some of these pictures here, different concept of, Jen, or how she could have actually been, and what we would have actually seen had they gone down this line and
pretty close.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty close. You know what I mean, of what we saw. But here, I wanted to bring this up here really quick. This scene, and when they asked Tony Gilroy, well, what was involved in this scene, and why do you think Vader at that time didn't immediately order, the garrison to go after? I mean, which we know he did, but at that point he stopped, and it was just that gaze. At that point, was there a presence that was felt? Did he feel Leia's presence on that ship? And Gilroy simply said, "You talking about it makes it interesting." And that's where I'll leave it.
Yep, there you go.
And I was like, that's dope. Yeah. that's dope. He did his job. He did exactly what he was supposed to do up until this particular point. For them to get him back to do a prequel story and do it so fucking well. I mean, I can't. Kendra, I'm gonna ask you a question. And I asked this question because we talked about this a few times with everybody else. Do you think this changes now the way we see Star Wars and IP as an IP going forward? Do you think it changes the expectation or heightens the expectation now of what people will want? Or do you think it's going to stay the same and it's just like a pocket of individuals who are enjoying this for what it is and want to see more, but you have You know, it's a divided space. I mean, we know we're still living in that divided, pocket, but what do you think? Do you think it changes slightly, or what are your
Well,
feelings?
I think it depends on how that question is defined.
Mhm.
If you're talking about, do we want to see more grounded thriller, serious stuff, or do we just want to see a higher caliber of storytelling?
Yeah.
I think that we have been given higher calibers of storytelling, and certain people really hate that. If they're
Mhm.
not always focused on the people that they want them to be focused
Yep.
on. And
Yep.
I can speak about Acolyte. Acolyte was, to my mind, a phenomenal show that was very high caliber
Loved it.
storytelling.
Yeah, loved it.
And it got hatred that, quite frankly, it did not deserve.
Mm-mm.
So the expectation to have high quality storytelling, I think, is something that television and moviegoers across the board are expecting. There is more media now more than ever competing for our attention. Nobody wants to watch something that's bad.
Yeah. That's the truth. I mean, it's we don't want bad, we want good, but we want a space where everything and different stories can be told. So all the checks, are made. You know what I mean? All the marks are made in this IP, and it's not just simplified. What do you think of? I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Kendra.
No. The best thing that I've heard is that Star Wars is a buffet. There's something for everyone, and you don't have to eat everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like what we want from Star Wars, we don't know necessarily what we want from Star Wars. We didn't know we wanted Rogue One, and we got Rogue One. We didn't know we wanted Andor season 1 and 2. It wasn't even on our radar, until we got it, and we got it, and it was great.
Yep.
But was it something where like, what I want? I want a Cassian Andor backstory, that spans, 2 seasons and goes into this particular aspect of it. I don't know if that's even something that people knew to ask for. Just like back in 77, people didn't know, hey, I want space wizards and laser swords and Wookiees. They didn't know it until they got it.
They had no idea, and there was a lack of belief in that level of storytelling. The creation of a serial that was expanded from Buck Rogers and all these other Flash Gordon, the original Flash Gordon,
the serials,
serials, basically
the
back
1940s.
Yes, 1940s, bro. Like all that. There was even like basically before even we got Buck Rogers, there was a show. It was a mini show called Buck Thompson. That it was a character called Buck Thompson that was a almost beat by beat iteration of what we get from New Hope, but they just crashed, they flashed, they just let it go. So again,
Buck Thompson sounds like a porn star.
Doesn't it, bro? But it was a character called Buck Thompson, bro. Like
He's got
the 70s mustache too.
But no, bro, it was like the 40s. It was like the 40s or
okay.
Yeah, it was it was still some anyway. What do you think? Like, are we allowed, us who enjoy, because here's the thing, bro, like we obviously we love this show, we love this movie, we love what we basically got from it, but some people would look at it and say that level of support that we give this IP and how we see it is almost like saying we are perpetuating more stories like this. And why wouldn't we? Just for us, they're saying no, so now we can't get good Star Wars. Well, it wasn't good Star Wars to you. You know what I mean? It's your opinion. It wasn't for you. People who didn't like the Acolyte, it wasn't good storytelling for you. But other people embraced it. People who didn't like Obi-Wan, it wasn't good storytelling for you. Things that I enjoy. Boba Fett, I understand, but there were certain things that I enjoyed about it. I take the good from certain things, even though was it the greatest? No, I'm not gonna say it was, but it was a space that I could live in and say at least something that I love is being extended in so many different ways. What do you think about where we are with it, and should we want to see more like this?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I think that we're lucky to get anything at all. It's such an unusual time, and other IPs, they don't always get content, and we get content, and so I'll take as much content as they're willing to produce, and I don't care whether it's animated or live action. To be honest with you, I would love some audio dramas thrown in the mix, and I love audiobooks. All that good stuff I think is great. People have their likes and dislikes, so I like to see people get excited about stuff they love. So I'm more inclined to listen to somebody if they tell me, yeah, I really love this. And I'm like, well, what did you love about it? Even if it's not interesting to me, I just get excited to hear people talk about Star Wars and be excited about it. So as long as they keep producing content, there's greater chance that we're going to have more celebrations and, more movies and more premieres and, more stars coming into, the IPs. And so I have to support whatever they're putting out. I'm not necessarily saying everything's my favorite, but the more content we get, the greater chance we're going to get for, future movies, especially movies. Movies seem to be the ones that are, and I'm not quite sure why, but they seem to be the ones that are the most difficult to create. So, obviously it's an incredibly talented group production crew that's there. So it's not about talent or anything like that, but getting it put out and then released and then everybody can go see it. It seems like a more involved, ordeal situation than a live action program, and maybe the live action costs more than the movie, but the movie production is something that the IP is so based upon. So maybe now we've crossed the gap of, now we have all this live action television stuff as well as animated, because Clone Wars was like such an incredible animated series for me, and so was Rebels, and I wasn't expecting to get that at all. So I think it's interesting. I think they need to keep going with stories, and there's always going to be room for more artistic stuff. Like when I say artistic, they made like a short with Grogu, that cute little short Studio Ghibli did. And purely for me, an artistic film. It's so adorable. It's meant to be this, it really is kind of like a little spiritual thing. But I think that if we can allow, and then of course there's like Tales of the Jedi, if we can keep it open where people are able to kind of express themselves and have fun with what's going on with Star Wars and tell these stories that we know of, characters that we love or characters that we're rediscovering, I think it's a good thing. We have to pray that they keep making. We really do.
A lot of people don't understand that what we've seen in the Star Wars universe is a scintilla of what can be dabbled in, be made. Things that we don't know, the novels, the books, the comics that that have been produced and made, that is so much material. They can use anything they want and make it just as good as this right here. Like I said, we were talking about this movie supposedly is like one of the most expensive movies ever made. I think Avatar is the only one used more money to make it. This movie right here was. And it made it back, of course, but it showed that this movie was well made. Everything looked good. I mean, on Scarif, that was beautiful. Well, that was beautiful. It was like, this is, man, I like to go vacation on Scarif, but the Scarif's not there anymore. So I
hate to break it to you, but
you ain't getting the out, brother. The resort is gone. It's not there anymore. So, but it's just that people don't understand that if you're a Star Wars fan, and I'm going to just say a true Star Wars fan, you can take the good with supposedly bad. Because like I said, nobody's going to tell me that that's good or that's bad. I'm going to make that judgment myself. And like I said, has it been some hit and misses? Of course it has. But I think it's been more hits than it's been misses.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, Keith. And it has to do with there's a movie, and there's a very famous pod race in the movie. And like it's that pod race is really important to a lot of people. For me, it wasn't one of my favorites. So
yeah.
But I've heard people get very passionate as they say, "Oh my gosh, the pod race, it was so important." And I'm like, I get excited hearing them talk about it, but I already know that I'm probably not going to pick like I'll fast forward. It's like a portion of the film, for heaven's sake, but it's not that important to me. However, I'm very happy for people when they get excited about it. Because like I said, this was important. I happen to love Return of the Jedi, but it's not necessarily everybody's favorite film. Like I've heard a lot of people say that there are certain things that aren't great, but it was the movie that I walked to the movie theater, guys, with my cousin. We were like, I don't know, like maybe 12, and we could go by ourselves, right?
Oh yeah, there we go.
Double feature, Keith, with the Emerald Forest. So we had to watch the Emerald Forest first. Yes, I didn't know that's what was happening. And then I'm like, are we going to see Star Wars? Like, after
yeah.
Are we going to see? And then of course it came on, and I was like, oh my God, so the Return of the Jedi has a different meaning for me than like I'm sure. Obviously, Empire is probably a better film, but for me, Return of the Jedi was like the one where I could go to the theater. We went and we stayed in the theater and saw the movie more than once. It has a different meaning for different reasons. Always. So, I think that's what's good about it. We have this content, but I did just want to mention that it's not terribly significant, but I'm happy when I see people get excited about certain parts of it. That's why we're talking about this, why we're here now, right? Like to talk about these moments that mean so much to us. It's just I'm just so glad to be here.
And another thing,
it's different strokes for different folks. Like for some, like for me personally, number one's got to be Caravan of Courage. Okay. I mean, Ewok Adventure. Why are we not getting a sequel to that? Or a prequel.
Okay. Recently, and I watched
Caravan of Courage.
That's news to forever.
Well, hey, if we're going down this road, I want a prequel to Waterworld.
Hell no!
I'm sorry. Listen.
It was a good film. It was a good film.
I've said this many times over and over. I love that movie. I don't know why, but I love it.
Bro, you're living in the prequel.
If they could have showed me more mutants, a society of mutants, could they show some more of what that whatever that fish was under the water that he killed? Show some of that. I mean, they could have went so many different ways with that movie, but they didn't. I know people don't like it, but I love it. I love it.
Give it enough time. We'll get a remake of Waterworld.
I love Waterworld.
You don't need now. Waterworld, I agree, is a very good film. I don't know. Yeah, I really love Waterworld. I always go to the live action shows at Universal.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there too. I've been there.
Wow, I forgot about that. Damn. Yeah. But I mean, I think and Cece, I want to bring this to you real quick here. This film itself and the experience, it's like you can see the difference. The connectivity from this show to New Hope. I mean, this movie to New Hope to Empire to Jedi. It's connection. It's connection there. Hell, I already said. I've been saying this for the longest time. I want a movie about all the Bothans that were killed to get the plans for the second Death Star and the information that was needed. Show me Bothans now. Let's make an entire film. Hell, and have James Cameron direct it. Because I think he would help. If we can do it with Avatar, he can do it with Bothans, and it would make sense. But what I'm saying is, it's seeing this in the progression here. When you think about this, Cece, do you think that with the whole transition to Disney and everybody's always saying like once Disney-fied everything and stuff like that, and now it's in worse shape. Do you think that we are now after this, and especially after season 2 of Andor going into this, where we can basically move with that momentum and be in a recovery stage where now they can look at this as a benchmark and say, okay, even if we can't give you the same level or the tension, we can at least look at the writing and say, okay, we now know that people are well invested in storytelling. What we got from Andor was characters that we never thought in a million years we would be connected to, but I was connected to every single character that we got on screen. I was well invested, and I think that they all got time. Same with Rogue One. They all got time to basically space itself out for us to know and understand these characters, even with the time that was definitely given. Do you think now that they can move on from this and use this as momentum to kind of give us something better?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the Disney camp, and I always have been. Like I've said this multiple times that I wouldn't be the Star Wars fan I am if it wasn't for the Disney situation, because it made Star Wars relevant to my generation again. It made it exciting that, like, oh, we're gonna get more movies. Like, it's not just. And I do think that things like Rogue One and Andor are really decent reminders of the fact that multiple people who've worked with George Lucas will tell you that the man is not the genius you think he is. And that sounds shocking, considering we're all sitting here because of it. But the genius he had was not necessarily in the decisions he made, but in the people he recruited. So he had an knack for getting the best of the best. Yeah. And I felt that with Andor, where you have Tony Gilroy talking to Kathleen Kennedy about, like, I want the set designer from Chernobyl, done. Like, I want the costume designer from this movie, done. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I think, and that's what a lot of people talk about with, like, Dave Filoni. Like, oh my God, Dave Filoni gets it. He understands Star Wars. He understands Star Wars just like George Lucas understood Star Wars. So I think that, like, it's almost like, I think I'm probably going to get this wrong because I always do. It's like the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning, where, like, a tornado warning is like, we have the ingredients to potentially make tacos. And then a tornado watch is, guess what? There's tacos. I feel like with everything that Disney has at their disposal, there's the potential for tacos. Sometimes they get a taco. But it takes a lot of getting there sometimes. You're not always getting it. Sometimes it's a deconstructed taco. Sometimes it's so deconstructed people don't understand it. I'm looking at you, Last Jedi. Like, they venture out into such creative fields that they kind of lose the main audience. And also, I don't mean to depress people, but I have been sitting here thinking, like, this is not the first time that Disney's had a renaissance and then a not renaissance. Like, I'm a 90s kid. Like, we remember what cartoons were like, what animation was like, what happened to it, and then how, we had, like, the Pixar era as well. It ebbs and flows. It doesn't mean it's going to disappear entirely, but I think also with kind of like what Kendra said, like, everything's competing with our attention. And what Vinny has said before, like, we're the TikTok generation now. Like, if you don't have us within a few seconds, like, we're just going to click off. And they put so much investment into streaming that we're like, dang, Star Wars was for the movies. Like, Mandalorian was created because Jon Favreau wanted to do a Boba Fett show, and they're like, no, do your own character. Yeah. So he did as close as he could to Boba Fett, the dude who doesn't talk much, who just looks really cool and has a swagger, and we got Mando, and it's a great character. But so it's like they have a meeting in the minds. Like I said, the ingredients to make tacos. I appreciate how much they're obviously investing in it, because between viewership with Andor and then also the fact that they've submitted it for something like 23 different Emmys. And we're talking about this. These are the years where Marvel movies are being submitted for Oscars. So I think that we can only go up, hopefully, with the caliber of people, the actors, the creators, the concept artists. I think we could, the sky's the limit. I do think that, like, Andor, just like any show that came out after 2022 when Andor did, it set the bar very high. But we have people like Dave Filoni who are going to be in charge of Mando versus Grogu, and that's going to be a movie that comes back to theaters. So I am very hopeful for the future, but also understanding that, like, there's ebbs and flows to the Renaissance. Not everything could be like a Renaissance. You're always going to have people who are of the original trilogy generation saying that was the generation to be there. You just had to be there and see them in theaters, and nothing will be better. And then you have, like, people like me who are like, We had The Force Awakens, which I loved. We had Rogue One. Now we have Andor. It's taken a few years, but we got there. Like there's nuggets, there's occasional tacos in the chocolate. And I think so long as they keep striving for the tacos, I'm obviously going to keep watching.
Yeah, for me, what it is for me is that I'm not going to say I had a more appreciation than anyone else, but I grew up in a time that I had to watch the Flash Gordon serials, or in 1966 when Lost in Space, the original Lost in Space came on. That was my science fiction, or Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, or Land of the Giants. That's what I was watching, and to see the progression of what was going on then, and to see what we have now is just light years ahead, and I appreciate it so much. So that's why I'm not really critical, critical about what's going on today, because what I had and what's going on now are two way things, just different, like two ends of the spectrum. And I appreciate all this stuff that's going on now. But like I said, I appreciate watching Lost in Space, with Will and Penny back in the day, and all that good stuff. It was such a lot of imagination, like, and all those shows are by Irwin Allen. So you can see one prop that was on Voyage at the Bottom of the Sea one week, then you see it on Lost in Space the next week, and then you'll see it on this, the show next week. So, but that's what was going on back in those days. Then we had Time Tunnel. That was I love Time Tunnel. That's one of my favorite shows. I still watch that now. I got it on DVD. But I just appreciate, and like I said, to really see the big time movies, you had to go to the movies to see, the big time stuff. So like, I remember not seeing the original Forbidden Planet, but seeing it at a theater when it was re-released. And that movie was so groundbreaking at the time. It was the first movie to mention light speed. It was the first movie to use the laws of robotics. Yeah. The first movie to have electronic music. Yeah. And if you ever get a chance to see it, it's one of the, to do what they did in 1951 with the special effects and everything, you can see the appreciation. And most of those, where those special effects were done, they were done by Disney. That's who did all the special effects in that movie. All special effects.
What's crazy? Gilroy, where Gilroy's inspiration for K2SO came from?
Was it Robbie?
What was you say?
Was it Robbie the Robot?
No.
Was it?
His inspiration came from a movie that people probably have never seen and would have never seen, but it was a murder bot. Saturn III.
Oh, I've seen that.
Remember that movie?
With Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett.
Yes. Saturn III. And he basically said the menacing aspect of that is where he got K2SO and pretty much the KS Enforcer droids for Andor. It was Saturn III that he basically sat back, and he was like, yo, because remember how that droid was an enforcer. Yes, it was used as an enforcer at that particular time.
Never made that
it was merged with the creator at that time. So that's where he got the inspiration of it. I was like, damn, I remember Saturn III with Kirk Douglas back in the day.
I went to the movie to see it,
when he was fighting the damn robot butt ass naked. I'm like, yo, put some clothes on, man. Like, you know what I mean? But that's, you remember, you know what I mean?
Look, I don't mind nudity if it's show. I'm fine with nudity, and I like the love that we, maybe not necessarily in Rogue One, but I like the mature love scenes that we've seen in Andor. Like I think for an adult audience, and they didn't go too far, but even some of the scenes where Cassian and Bix are kind of doing this hand thing where they have their hands together, and I'm like, this is what kind of the things that they're fighting for is this, the love and being able to kind of live their lives. But I think it's important. Sometimes nudity can advance a story, or a romance can advance a story. So if it's done right, it can benefit science fiction in so many ways.
What? That's
Barbarella.
Barbarella.
Not anymore.
But
you take all that shit out now.
They do. But you remember that scene though? That scene that you were talking about with Andor and Bix. You know what it reminded me of? Demolition Man. Remember between Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone? Yeah, when they did it.
Oh my god.
That's what it's like, what the fuck? But
Wow.
it was a level of romance that we got.
Comparing
Something.
Demolition Man to Andor.
Andor.
Bro,
Oh my
but I'm
God.
saying that scene.
That's-
Wait.
that's-
Where are my seashells?
Demolition Man is a classic.
No, it is.
Nobody's saying it's
That
not.
is very much
Okay.
like it is
I'm
very
just
much.
saying that it's two different movies.
It's two different movies, bro. I'm talking about the hand, putting it in like just the whole intimacy and just the touch at that time. It was a ballad. Even Bix, she talked about how Gilroy had them move. It was more like a ballad that it expressed what was to come, what was behind them, but what they had in that moment. And that's what she said that they wanted to kind of capture when they were going back and forth, with the whole thing. I'm just Demolition Man was just my shit, bro. I just
Yeah,
like
well,
I just want to think
You know
about
what?
it.
Another thing that Vinny brought up is that if you really look at Jen through the whole movie, she showed no joy, no happiness in her face. Her expression stayed the same way, even though when she was talking passionately, it never changed. It was like this girl is broken, messed up. She's seen some bad things, and when he brought that up, I said, "Damn, he's right." I mean, she was. I mean, it was pretty not sad, but it was like, damn, this girl went through a lot of things.
Uh, Kendra, I'm sorry, you're kind of new to this, a little bit new to me here. So I have this character up for a reason because she became one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. This figure right now is my Grail figure. Both of these figures are my Grail figures that I would never give up. You'll occasionally see people in the chat saying a generous giveaway. Fuck them. I'm never giving it away. Never ever. It's never. I'm never
buried
ever.
with it.
I will. Literally, you will bear me with those figures. I would never give them up. I would never. The reason why, and here's the thing, Vinny, I say this because there are movies that we enjoy, but it takes us back to a moment. This movie took me back to the moment that I was there with my friends. I was there with my daughter. We're seeing a character, and like again, it was the father-daughter relationship that she's experienced on so many different levels. Her father, the simple fact that, Galen Erso, a father that had to do what he had to do at that particular time and was given no choice. He had to leave his daughter. He had to basically sacrifice his relationship with his family in order to again, keep him alive, even though he lost his wife at that moment. Yep. It was his daughter, again, trusting his daughter to, again, someone who we know who was a mercenary, just a crazed dude. Her being with, Saw Gerrera, him, teaching her. And I think that there was genuine love there between them. It was genuine love. He loved her, but had to do what he had to do to keep her safe, because even in that aspect, yes, he was, floating around with the daughter of an Imperial officer, but I don't think it was just that. He had a lot of heat on him. He didn't want to see her die. So he had to leave her within that moment. Her surviving in the world. I mean, when we talk about the novels, her picking up odd jobs just to survive at that particular times, working for people who we never thought she would ever work for. But again, she had to do it to survive. Her story was so damn interesting. So when I'm looking at her and I'm sitting next to my daughter, I'm like, damn, I really feel the whole scope of this movie. And the things that were missing was there was fracture. Andor, which we didn't discover his losses until, in the Cassian, we didn't discover that until his show. But what we knew about all the characters that were here, we seen Mon Mothma and but we didn't know what she sacrificed until we watched Andor, which put everything in perspective. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I think on a whole that there's so many words that could define Star Wars. Like, we were talking climb earlier, but sacrifice is another one. Mm-hmm. Virtually every single character we've seen over the mythos of this IP has had sacrifice in some way, shape, or form. You could take any character and look at what they gave up to try to do the right thing. And Galen knew that, hey, somebody's going to build this damn thing, but if I build it, I can make it vulnerable. And he had to give up his daughter or give up his life for the process. Saul the same way. I have to sacrifice her, or else we might both die. And then the bigger picture, and we see it with Cash. We seen it with Bix. We've seen it over and over. We've seen it with Luke. We've seen it with Kenobi. We've seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenobi gave up his life and just chilled on a fucking desert planet, just like y'all. They still good? Yeah, they're still good. All right, yeah, they're still good. Yeah, he could have been doing other shit. Everybody gave up something to do what they think is right, and I think that is, and on both sides, villains too. I think that is one of the beautiful overtelling, messages about Star Wars is sacrifice, and everything is bigger than you. Like Yoda said, it's like it's not just you, it's everything is bound together. We're all in this together. It's all one thing in different shapes and forms. So I think that speech that he gave her in the hologram was like hit like a sledgehammer, because she was a child. Like, so no matter what she might have thought about what happened, your memories of a 6-year-old being left, like it obviously could be, skewed. There's children who've been left by their parents to go to war, do different things, and that could twist and turn so many different ways in 10, 20 years, where you might not really understand truly what happened. And she got a chance to like hear it from the horse's mouth, and kind of have a little bit of closure there for that. And then 2 seconds later, she has to just dip and go because the planet's about to explode. She doesn't even get to keep the hologram to play it again, and that message is just now dead with her. It's definitely a broken person, and it was like the one small thing that she had, that was small ray of light that she had, was at least getting to see her dad tell her sorry before she had to carry on her story.
Yeah, like literally, bro. Like it's we talk about, and you said this earlier, the peace that she was only able to receive in death, through death.
It's like, wouldn't you rather give it all at once to something real?
Yeah.
And that was them giving it all at once. Like, here it is. They gave as much as they possibly could. Luthen gave as much as possibly could. Mon Mothma gave as much as they possibly could. Obi-Wan as much as they possibly could. Cassian and Jin as much as they possibly could. They did everything they could possibly do, and then they are on that beach together going, all right, that's all we can do.
And Gilroy did lay to rest everybody's speculations about Jin and Cassian, because he said there was no relationship between them. They didn't formulate any type of love. That wasn't it. It was the respect that they had in that particular moment.
It was just two human beings being human. Wanted to have some kind of small feeling right before they died.
Right.
That's what they wanted.
And that's what it was. It wasn't just a feeling of admiration. Now they said there was a there was a cut scene that didn't make it where they survived. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad, as much as I would. There was a cut scene when they actually got off, that they were going to survive. They were going to add this scene, but they cut it from the scene from the movie, where they were going to say that both Jin and Cassian survived. And I'm like, well, where was the stakes? You're taking away the stakes and what it really, really meant at that time. I mean, she's at peace. She died. Now she'll see her father again. You know what I mean? Cassian died. And you know what the beauty of it was? The beauty of this was, and it put what made me see this shit completely different was the final episode of Andor, when he wakes up from that dream. He sees his sister. When he sees his sister, when he sees everything basically around him, those dreams, and people say it, when you see those dreams of someone you were connected to that's no longer here, that means that you're going to see him again. Eventually, there's a way that you're going to see him again. And in that moment, he was almost living in that moment of peace and death, knowing that his time was going to come. Yes, I'm going to see you sooner than what you think. Yeah. That's the beauty of it, because when you look at that scene, and then you look at the final scene from Rogue One, it's like, wow. That same warmth of light that came over him, even though it was destructive, still gave them fucking peace.
Yeah, because with Bix, I'm sure it's like, all right, maybe I'll see you, but you're okay. Like you're good. He has no idea where his sister is, and she's probably dead. So he could never really truly be happy with Bix, because it's like, how could you ever really be happy if your sibling, your child, someone that you lost who was so young at the time is gone and you have no closure? It's like almost worse than knowing she was dead. You don't know where she is, and that closure that he probably found in the afterlife, I would hope, is probably a bigger respite than any reunion with Bix could have been, because he may still have that one day too.
Yeah. We can sit up here and talk about this shit. Like literally, we can sit up here and talk about this shit. Like, because I think going into it and seeing everything, just the stakes. So we talk about Krennic and how dope Ben Mendelsohn is as a character, as Krennic, and even how much more you realize this character, even him, tortured, because he just wants that sense of power. He wants people to see him. He wants to be seen, plain and simple. He wants to be seen by the Empire.
Did y'all see him blind rank top 5 Star Wars characters? Did y'all see that clip?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
that shit was fucking amazing, bro.
Please, everybody, please, if you haven't seen it, please Google Ben blind ranking. They asked him on the red carpet top 5 Star Wars characters, and it's one of those things where they just, all right, number 5, and then they tell you the character, but they don't tell you who's going to be next. So you have to place 1 through 5 in order of where you want to put that character. So if they say, Tarkin, you have to put like where you would put him on the list, not knowing who's coming next. And the way he answers those questions is like, that's a fan.
That's a fan. Like, he's truly a fan. He's did y'all now? Hey, yo, Jedi Kid ain't here, right?
No.
All right. David Cornsworth, the new Corn Sweat or whatever.
Corn Sweat. You gotta say it like that.
Corn Sweat. The new Star Wars. Bro, he's a fucking fan.
Yeah. He's hoping the Superman gig gets him a Star Wars gig.
He wants to be in Star Wars so bad. He knows line for line, word for word, dialogue, everything. Every scene, he's read almost every damn books. He's definitely a fan. And when they asked him about Rogue One, and has he basically watched it on basically this press, whatever, he said, I've watched that entire. He said, I've watched season 1 and 2. He said, I was watching season 1 while we were making Superman.
Wow.
I was in my trailer watching it in preparation. Even when we were doing reshoots, I was watching it. He said, I live for this shit. And that's what it is. It's like, and the one thing that he did say is, people don't understand the importance of having variety. Variety means so much. It means that the story can expand in so many different mediums and so many different. When everybody's saying it's not my Star Wars, what you're telling the individuals who basically enjoy it is that it shouldn't be a Star Wars that they enjoy. It shouldn't be something that they basically, or a piece of something or nostalgia for them. You're saying to them that you're bad for enjoying something. And I never really that aspect just makes me cringe. Kendra, when you were talking about Acolyte, we covered Acolyte on the show. We were talking about how there were so many different aspects, that people didn't see. Now, was it a A+ show without flaws? No, it wasn't. But it was still enjoyable. I enjoyed it. I take whatever I can from it, but we get ripped apart for saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna let anybody take my joy. That ain't happening. Not gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
I
Never gonna.
I just want to love all of Star Wars. I just want to enjoy
it. I think that's what we all want to do. I want CC to get an X-rated Star Wars show, like where it's butt naked the entire time. I want her, because that's what she wants. That's what she has. You know what I mean? I want to see X on Coruscant doing some conniving shit, because I believe he would be the person on Coruscant to do some conniving shit and gain intel. I believe he would. I want to see CC as an undercover Imperial officer working for the rebellion, getting shit done while collecting relics and dipsetting through the entire Death Star. I want to see variety. I'm just using it as an example of why we can't get that. It's going to be, here's the thing, is like after Rogue One, and now Like Rogue One is just how and Keith, I know you remember this. I know you remember this. It was how. Remember when New Hope dropped? People saw it, they enjoyed it. Empire came out, and people were like, "Damn!" So what did they do? They did a re-release on New Hope and put it right back in the theaters.
Yeah, they sure did.
And that's how this will be. We got what, the 10th anniversary of it next year?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we know this shit will be back in theaters next year. And there's going to be a press tour for this. We already know what's going to be. They're going to talk about, Gilroy's going to be out there again talking about Andor. There's going to be all that. There's going to
be IMAX around then. Was IMAX when this came out?
What, this?
Yeah. Was IMAX around?
I think it was.
Yeah, that's not IMAX.
Okay.
It was around.
Yeah.
It was? Okay.
It was definitely around.
Okay.
It was definitely around.
We're gonna have posters.
Yeah. Yeah. New ones.
For the anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Kendra doesn't know me. I'm a huge
Kendra. Tell her. Yeah.
Art prints and more art prints than anything else.
Yeah, I could show you some.
Okay.
That's the fresh print. That's the fresh print.
Fresh print.
The fresh print.
The fresh print of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. But my favorite artist is Matt Ferguson, who's been tasked with all the key art anniversary posters, like Empire Strikes Back 2020 and Return of the Jedi, most recently Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, I keep getting on his case about doing an Andor anything. Because we don't have a lot of representation for Andor with any of the licensed merchandise at all, let alone art prints. But he's eager to keep it in the back of his mind that next year's the anniversary for Rogue One. And he's got contracts and stuff, so
here's hoping.
Intriguing. Yep.
Man, look, get me in on that all day, man, and I'm there. Like I definitely need.
I would go, no doubt.
Yeah, and I would definitely go, literally, because this definitely means what did Pedro say? CC's print corner. Yep. Yep. That's definitely how it be. Yeah, man. Any final words? Any final thoughts from you guys on this? Anything y'all want to bring up?
Great movie. Just a great movie. Great movie. I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
I was watching it the other day, matter of fact.
Any final thoughts on Rogue One? Bull Gullet.
Bodie, what is that?
Bodie's like, what's Bull Gullet?
Oh my god.
Did you ever hear Riz Ahmed talk about his audition tape and how many tapes he sent in? Did you ever hear that?
No.
This motherfucker sent in 22 audition tapes.
Yeah.
Like
it worked.
They would, when he was auditioning, he would constantly send tapes and different takes of how to do it. And even when they told him, no, we got it, he would send them more. He just kept sending them tapes. Oh, we can do it this way. And they knew he was passionate about it. So Gilroy was like, he sent me so many tapes. He had already had it by the third tape, but I just wanted to see how many times. I was like, that's fucked up. Like, that's really, man. Oh, man.
It bad.
Bro, he wanted, but he was great in it.
No, he was.
He was definitely great in it. I mean, are there any other stories that we would want to see told from this? Or do we want to just leave it and think that it ends on this note? In my opinion, where they ended it, and especially the crescendo for me, was Rogue One. I don't think it needs to go any further than this, because then you take away from what was created at that point.
Unless you want to give me like a B2 emo spinoff.
Yeah. Like I would like to see the continuation of Bix. I would like to see the continuation of Dedra. There was some. Yeah. What happens after the Death Star is built? Does she get out? What happens after her prison sentence? What happens after the rebels win the war?
I want to know what war crimes K2SO and Chopper got into.
Yeah.
At the same time.
I wonder if Dedra's going to be like, orange is the new black, or orange and white is the new black, kind of.
Oh, damn.
Dedra running the prison gang. I can do that. That'll work. That could work.
Yeah, I never thought about that shit.
Yeah.
I don't think the
Everybody
Empire
try to
has
block
any
it.
paroles. I don't think the parole board doesn't exist in the Empire. So she ain't getting out of there.
Damn, that's interesting, bro. I never thought about that. Her being in, and they could do an entire show about. They could call it One Way Out. Straight up, it's the entire show.
They're running the show.
And the thing is, it's crazy because I talked. Dedra had became one of my favorite characters, like literally, because
Dedra played herself.
She did, but this is when we talk about she played. But again, occupation. It was because she was trying to again assert herself as being someone just as important as everybody else there.
In there like Buck Miro.
Yeah.
Grabbing pockets.
Yeah. It's anyway, man. I'm definitely excited about it. I don't want to keep you guys here because we're already 2 hours in, and I know people got stuff to do. But great show. I would definitely suggest if you haven't seen season 2 of, or if you haven't watched Andor leading into Rogue One, just get the experience. Do you think, all right, one last question before we bow out. I already know what you're going to say, but do you think that we are going to get a in theaters nonstop run of everything going up into Rogue One?
I think we'll get.
You don't think they would do that with
episodes of season 2, and then start Rogue One in theaters? I think that's what they would do. They would.
You think they would do that?
I think they would do that. I think they,
I can see that
movie and then Rogue One, because they did do the 24-hour marathons with Phantom Menace, but I feel like they wouldn't do those so close together. But that seems more plausible that they would do a few more episodes.
The final 3 episodes leading in
to Rogue One.
Would I sit at the Egyptian theater and watch a chronological showing of all Star Wars movies? Yes, I would. No problem. No problem at all.
That's like a marathon, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
That's a fucking marathon. Shit, I did, man, doing that shit in Orlando where they basically showed, the prequels leading all the way up until at that time, Force Awakens, before we got The Last Jedi. I was sick as a hell, and it was cold in that damn room, and I still sat there, watched all of them, tired as hell, and we did it. So I believe people would. I definitely people would, just for the experience. But
I think people would watch it, but I don't think the theaters would.
Yeah, you don't think the theaters would actually do
that's a money thing.
Yeah, that is true. Unless Disney tries to shell out and be like, "Yo, we want this to happen."
Come on.
They barely did any theater releases for Rogue One when
commercial. Never to be shown again. Disney, the never to be shown again 2 years
going
later.
in the vault.
Never to be shown there. They're pulling it from the vault. Now we got it on DVD with the extra added bonuses. Never to be shown again. Disney is about money.
Yeah, that's true.
That
is true. That is true. But yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. But thank you guys.
I know Cece got some VHS that I know she.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Anyway,
I got a Betamax player. I bet you got one of those too.
Anyway, man, no, seriously, thank y'all for being here, man. Great show. Kendra, thank you for being here. You're welcome anytime you want to actually come on and have these discussions. We talk about Star Wars all the time. So I definitely appreciate. I'm glad we are back to talk about these things. What do you got going on in your world, Kendra? What's going on with you?
This Sunday, the comic shop that I work on, we put on our own convention. It's called KaziCon. And I will be there in my Star Wars costume with a bunch of my Star Wars friends and some droids and lots of good stuff.
Nice.
Can we see this one more time? One more time.
Let's see him.
Can we see him just one?
Okay.
There he is.
His eyes do light up. He's just not on right now.
Oh my goodness, it's so good.
Got an ultimate 1-to-1 scale character. That's crazy. That's insane. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. You're welcome anytime you want to come, as always. Cece, what's going on with you?
Not much. The only thing I guess I have to plug, if no one else here is on the Hyperdrive Star Wars Facebook group, it was official today that I joined their admin team.
Word.
Like I was obviously for years I collected very similar things, and I have a lot of friends in that community because of that. So yeah, they needed a resident print expert, and I was like, I know a thing or five about prints. So yeah, so that, if you're not familiar with the group, it's they have like 6,000 members so far, and we're always looking for ways to liven things up and talk about our mutual love for all the things we collect about Star Wars and yeah, just Star Wars in general.
Oh man, hyperdrive.
The hyperdrive.
Oh, the hyperdrive. Okay, all right. I got it. Definitely. All right. Cool. That's what's up. And who's better to talk about it than you?
Of course.
You know what I mean? So always. But yeah, thank you for being here as always. What's going on with you?
Nothing's going on.
She said nothing.
So, but I'll be back if we have another one of these fantastic. Of course, we're gonna have another.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Until then, I'll be either on Namos or Coruscant. I don't know, waiting for the Empire to fall. I don't know.
Nice.
I think we should. I think we should have a discussion. I think you know what we should do. We might as well continue this. We should actually have a discussion of Rogue One leading into New Hope and the influence between them. That would be dope. Good. That would be dope. I know I can see X over there was like, yeah.
Wonderful. And thank you for having me here. And it's been
as always
again being here talking to you all about Star Wars.
As always, definitely. You know, I appreciate it and thank you for being here. Always. Therapist. What would you like to share with the people?
Oh my goodness. What do I want to share with the people? You think I'm crazy? You think I'm crazy, don't you? Revolution's not for the sane. It's freedom, boy. It's freedom. Breathe it in.
Damn.
Thank you so much for having me. Hot Toys, if you're out there, Saw Gerrera figure.
Please.
Let's do this. Let's make this happen. He's one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, and I'm glad that Andor did him justice, and it was great to see him again in Rogue One. Forrest Whitaker, you are amazing. Let's hang out sometime. But no, thank you so much. It's great to be on here and talk talk Wookiees, to talk Star Wars. You'll find me out on the internets, in the Collectors Lounge International, and Say What Wednesdays, and Best of the Best, and then Uncivilized Scoundrels. So yeah, can't wait to see what we get next. But thank you so much.
So you know what we just got next, bro?
Yeah.
You want to know what we got next? I got to show you this. This is what we just got next, bro.
Oh my goodness.
Chris bro.
Love it.
Oh, that's incredible.
This is the special edition.
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you.
I did it. I don't know how the hell he did this shit so damn quick.
This is the mastered.
You just made RM made her week right there.
We did.
Insane.
I love it.
Yo, Renz is a knucklehead, man. Straight up.
That was great.
That was definitely great.
Listen, it was,
Keith, man.
I love being here. And Kendra, Grannon, Admiral Kendra, come back. We love having you here. Because I know what that rank is on your right there. I know what that is. That's Grand Admiral.
Oh, do you?
Oh, that's Grand Admiralship. I already know what that is.
That is my Tarkin sweater.
Okay. No, listen, man. I love being here talking about all the goodies. Yeah, see, that's right there. Look at her. There's her rank.
There it is.
So, no, listen. I love being here. Thank you for having me here. It's just always good talking about Star Wars, something I love to death, and I don't think I can ever get enough of it. Never.
I don't think we should. I don't think any of us should. What I mean? It's what we love. It's what we embellish, bro. I will love this this IP for the rest of my life.
I think it's in my blood from that first time in No, it was May 16th, 1977. I'll never forget that day. Never.
Oh man.
Never.
Same. 1977, bro.
Yes.
Which changed my life forever.
Sure did for me.
Half these people was like, yo, you are old as dirt. But you know what?
It's okay.
I absolutely
don't care.
I don't care. You can say I'm old. I absolutely do not care. I embrace it because I was alive when half this stuff happened. So definitely appreciate it.
I wanted to go to Tashi Station so bad. I didn't know what to do to see
Me
what
too.
was going on. I want to go see what's how I can get me some converters at Tashi Station because I
definitely, man. Thank you for being here as always, brother.
Yep.
Vinny, man, what's going on with you, bro?
Just you'll see me on Monday, Comic Book Talk with Friends. We'll be talking more comic book goodness. And other than that, I'm just gearing up. I have some more pieces I'll be releasing this upcoming week, leading into Three Rivers Con in Pittsburgh. That'll be my next convention that I'm working. So stay tuned to Vincent Dunn Art. And if you're not able to make it but want some prints, feel free to click the link, and there's a link to my store on my IG. And other than that, I'll just be working my regular job and getting ready for the con, and just being a little sad that we're now in the lull with no Star Wars content for a while. I'm anxious to get ready for Mandalorian and Grogu. I imagine that's the next thing, and then Ahsoka. So we got a little wait for that, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. And but there's plenty of Star Wars literature and content that's already been released to enjoy until then. And I still say it's a great time to be a Star Wars geek because there's just so much great content. And you have other certain companies complaining that quality over quantity is the answer. And I think you can have both. And
you can.
And I just imagine how much we would miss out if you took away a ton thinking that would make what was left better. No, there's so many great books, comics, shows, movies, and enjoy and digest what you can, what you love, and what you don't. That's and appreciate that maybe that's for somebody else. So there's so much good stuff to take in, and I don't think there's been a single Star Wars project where there wasn't something to pull from to enjoy.
Exactly.
Even Book of Boba Fett.
Even Book of Boba Fett, bro. Straight up, which I'm probably going to be watching again myself.
I mean, you had the Tusken warrior, like that training sequence.
She was so dope, bro.
There was great stuff in that show, and there's great stuff in everything that they put out, and I would love to see them. Hopefully Mandalorian and Grogu does well, because I want them to gain their mojo back and feel confident releasing films in the theater again, because streaming is great, and we're getting a lot of, obviously, Andor and Mandalorian, obviously a lot of great content from the streaming services, but I miss Star Wars on the big screen.
Yep, me too. And me too, bro. And great way to end it, because I think that I'm also interested in where this character goes next, because I think that she did such a great and phenomenal job, man, and we need to see where she goes next, man. I mean, we know she survived, you know what I mean? So there's that dead look like, where my tacos? You know what I mean? Like
Every new episode is every Tuesday night, Taco Tuesday.
Taco.
Being a taco, man.
Taco Tuesday. Guards at the hospital, kill Luke, man.
Right.
Good, man.
Always, man. But definitely, man. Thank you guys for being here. Everybody out in the chat, thank you for being here for another episode of Uncivilized Scoundrels. We will be back same time as always, man. You're always welcome here. And again, if you can't do anything else, always stay uncivilized. We are out. Talk to you guys later.
So uncivilized.